She was like, hey, they don't want, they're gonna pass on you. They said, yeah, you're not Arab enough.
Wow.
But it was for background work. It wasn't even like I wasn't saying anything.
So you're like pizza kid number 3.
But they just looked at me and they're like, he's not Arab enough, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty wild.
You are now listening to the Arab is Me podcast.
Ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to Arab is Me, a podcast that reminds us being Arab is not just about where we're from, it's about who we are. And the best part is, it's a podcast. You're not late. You're right on time. Listen, we didn't even eat. So khalas, come on in, pull up a chair, and let's enjoy these conversations with real Arabs with real stories from around the Arab world. My name is Durrah. I am your host for the Arab is Me podcast. I'm so excited to have you, but also excited to have our guest today, Dave Merheje. He is a Lebanese comedian and actor that many of you may know from his co-starring role in the hit show Ramy on Hulu. However, he's been on more than just Hulu. He has been on Apple TV. He's been on Netflix. He's had films in the Sundance Film Festival. He's also been on the Just for Laughs comedy shows. And in addition to that, he's not only just won Album of the Year before, he's up for another Juno Comedy Album of the Year for his hit new special called Dawood. So yalla khalas, let's not waste any time. Enjoy this conversation with Dave Merheje. Dave Merheje, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, bro, for the kind words.
Of course.
Thank you for allowing me to come on.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. I'm a big fan of yours. You know, even I'll start off by saying, do you happen to know, you may not because it's so vivid in my memory, and you may realize why it may not be vivid in yours once I tell you the story. Do you remember where we met? Let's see.
Not DC, no?
No, we met actually in New York. We met in New York at the Arab American Comedy Festival, New York Arab American Comedy Festival. So I have to tell you this. When I saw your set, like obviously you were like, you know, bouncing off the walls and doing like, you know, your fast performing set. I'll never forget, bro. I walked up to you backstage and I was like, hey man, good stuff, man. You know, that was amazing. And you just look at me, you're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, that one part. And I start telling you about the part that I loved. And you just looked back at me and said, I don't remember. And I was like, what? Bro, you told me, you go, I just blacked out.
Yeah.
And you just stared at me and I was like, what? What do you mean? You blacked out? You didn't know? Do you know you performed? And you're like, yeah, of course. And then you walked away. And I was like, and so I was like a brand new comedian. I was like, that's how they do it.
No, I remember. It's funny that when you said, when someone's like starts telling me the story where you met and it all comes back to you kind of thing. Yeah. That's what I think happened there. I was like, oh yeah, I for sure did that. I for sure. It wasn't like a blackout. It was more of like, you know, you go and get like the adrenaline and the rush of it, and you're just kind of going, and then maybe like right away after, not that you don't remember, but you're, you know, it's just like you're high off that performance. So that you caught me at the right when I probably got off, and then as you were telling it, I was like, yeah, okay, I remember. That's where we met. That's where we met. I don't know why I thought Chicago or DC.
Yeah, it may have even been multiple times. I just remember that, and I remember it was multiple days, and I remember walking up to you even the second day, and you were like, you know, comedians, they're like pacing back and forth, right? We're all reading our notes and checking our sets and stuff like that, and you were just kind of like tucked up over against a wall, and I was like, oh, I don't want to interrupt him. He's probably on his phone, like kind of text messaging, but like you didn't have your phone. And I was like, what's happening with this guy, man? Like I was literally like, like when I was describing this to somebody, they were just like, "Is he okay?" And I was like, I didn't look at it like that. I was like, I didn't think the guy was crazy. I actually was like I was a sponge and I was trying to take in the process. And then later, I remember watching a podcast that you were on, and you had said, "Hey, I started comedy when I was, I think, like 18 or 19 years old." And you had said, like, I read a book, and I was like, "What book?" And that's what I really wanted to ask you first. What book has Dave Merheje style in it that I can go read?
I mean, it wasn't a style. It was more of like, I was like super young in comedy, and I didn't really understand how to form or write a joke or put anything together. I kind of had written these thoughts during high school and after high school on paper, and I put them in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Like I just would carry them, or I just didn't know. I didn't know. I just would write down conversations. So I didn't really understand the structure of joke telling. And I remember a friend of mine had said, you should look at this book called The Comedy Bible.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let me check that out. And then when I was reading, I remember I was working a factory job too. And I'd read it on break, and there was parts of it where it said, you learn the rules of setup punch, how to write a joke, and then you break them. And then I remember I was just very interested in that part of it. But at that time, I was writing like jokes, and I think it just kind of evolved over time when I was like, I want to sound like I sound off stage, on stage. So it was like a whole process. That's the book that kind of like taught me the like an introduction into joke writing for me. So that's the book. It's called The Comedy Bible.
Yeah, well, I will be honest. Again, you don't know this, but I was like your biggest fan at the time. Not saying like I stopped, by the way. Like, I'm about to do my own like Dave Merheje said. I don't mean I stopped. I mean like, but like, like we're still good. But no, back then I was, because here's the thing. Like, I'm not, and I'd love your opinion on this. I'm not a big fan of like lazy comedy. And lazy meaning that like easy, like you see the punchline from 1,000 miles away. Like you just see this like Arab comedian going, so the other day I was at the airport. Like I almost don't want to listen anymore. I hear that and I'm like, I know where this is going. I don't want to hear it. like sometimes it's funny, but when you would go on there, like you just said, like how you kind of were off the stage, I felt like you almost went from like introvert to like you'd flip this switch and go, all right, I have 13 minutes to act out of body and get all these thoughts in here out. And I was curious in your process, what, like, was it that, because I've seen so much like raw stuff from you in terms of like your process and all that kind of stuff. But like, that's why I was the biggest fan, because I felt like this is very different, and not different like how like an Arab uncle would be like, you're different, like like this guy Majnoon different, like real, like it was different. It was not like very quick cliche punch. Like I was curious what your thoughts are on that, and is that something like you intended, or what was your process?
I mean, I think there's a certain elevation that I don't think you're going to be like how you are off stage, on stage. There's still a performance part, right? There's still like the excitement and then the audience, and then that kind of energy can elevate your performance. I think that was there. I think like over time I learned how to like harness that energy so it's not so chaotic. It's not like all over the place, and I think that just took time. I think I'm not saying that like I loved the process of back then, because it was like really like it could go all over the place, or you didn't really know where it was going to go. I didn't know where it was going to go, and I like that energy of it. But I think as I was building my act and as I was growing and getting older, you just start to try not, I don't want to say grounded, but you try to like get the same message and deliver the same performance in a more focused manner, if that makes sense. Not changing your style or not like watering it down. It was more of just like I couldn't go at that speed all the time. Like and I was learning my voice, and I was still learning how to perform, I think. And I think it just evolves. And I think it's good to evolve and, to just to wherever you're at in your life, I think, or process or energy. I think for me, I like to dictate that of what's on stage.
Yeah, but it looked exhausting. Like I tend to get mentally I tend to get mentally exhausted when I perform. Like if I do, like as an example, when I first started and somebody said you have 7 minutes, I was like, hey, Kev, how what am I gonna say for 7 minutes? And then now when you go to like a club and you're gonna do like a 5-minute set, you're like, how am I gonna limit it to just 5? Like, how am I gonna have an impact in 5 minutes? Because you're used to like this open, format. But like, do you feel like you kind of turn on and then when you get off the stage, like you just need a Gatorade or something, like Kobe style, throw a towel over your shoulder and be like, all right, it's not done.
Yeah, because I do think it's I do love performing. I like a lot of the acts that I was inspired by or love our performance. A lot of it is like, like prior perform.
Yeah,
He's sweating. From what I remember, when you watch his specials, you sweat. Like it's just like, to me, that's the type of comedy I enjoy. So I try to give it everything I can up there, and then which is gonna probably cause me to sweat. So I'm for sure sweating, and if there is water or Gatorade, for sure I'm gonna use that. I am sweating. If I'm doing like past 15 minutes, I'm sweating 100%. I'd say past 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I remember somebody had asked Eddie Murphy one time, like, what was the hardest thing about recording raw and these things? And like in one interview, he was like, all the leather. He just says it. He's like, just all the leather, and they were like they wanted this really deep, profound answer. And he was like, just all that leather. It was like hot.
Well, I think, like I'm always like, after like if it's a short trip, I'm like, I'm gonna have to wash all these shirts after. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm even get mad in the process. Like as I'm on stage, I'm like, oh man, I'm sweating already, dude. This shirt's a goner now. I gotta wash it. So
yeah.
But yeah. I love the perform like that. To me, that I love it. I was like, how can I perform the shit out of this set?
Yeah. So here's a question for you, especially this is obviously Arab is me, so I gotta make sure I'm touching on the Arab portion. When I speak to a lot of kind of like up and coming comedians, especially these days, by the way, like if you just have a social media account, you put comedian, you're a comedian, So a lot of the folks that you meet, they're like, yeah, I'm a comedian. I just started yesterday, but I'm officially a comedian. So when I talk to them, it's a lot of like, well, Saeed, any advice? I'm like, I'm not here to like give advice. Like I don't consider myself on a level to give advice, but like I ask them like, where did you get your start? And 99% of them are like, well, I was sitting with my parents and my parents were like, wallahi, you're the funniest guy. And so here we are. I always kind of tell them like, just because you're the funniest kind of kid in the Arab circle doesn't mean you can just be a comedian. There's an art form to it. But did you find yourself, given your Lebanese descent and all that, like, did you find yourself kind of like, I don't know how to describe this, but almost like just being funny straight up and you just wanted to kind of get yourself out there? Or were you that person that was like so in touch with, the Arab culture and everybody was like, this guy's going places and the family? Like, what was that process for you and how you kind of bought into the fact that you wanted to give yourself a shot with this?
I mean, I always wanted to perform, even when I was a kid, I guess. My mom would tell me, like, I would do imitation of wrestlers, imitation of people for my cousins and for company. And we'd make, me, my cousin, and my sister would make tapes and stuff. Like, we pretend to be talk show hosts and stuff. So that was always there. I don't know if it really had, I was doing it, but not knowing. It's not like I was like, I'm going to do this. It just kind of like something that we were doing. And then when I was 14, I think I was like, I want to be a stand-up comedian. I didn't even know what that was, but I always wanted to perform. I was like, really watching award shows and TV shows. Like I wanted to absorb it all, and like like the music award shows, Soul Train, like you know what I mean. Like we were, I was like enamored by all that stuff. So I think, and then my parents were so supportive. They didn't really like, not at one point anyone
The
in my
whole time, like the whole time, like when you said it's gonna be full time, they didn't flip flop on you.
my dad loves it. My dad like, because I talk about him so much there, he just loves it. And my mom was just like, get an education. But my mom, these are one of the most supportive family you could have. Like my brothers, my Nick, and my sister. Nobody was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
it's kind of like everybody knew, man. Everyone knew. Yeah. No one. There was not like a. It's almost to the point where everyone knew. Where it's not like they're not even that. Not that they're not impressed, but they're like, "Oh, he's doing comedy."
Okay.
Like it was a part of that. They're funny as well too, so it's not like it was like there wasn't humor in the family. Like my cousins were funny. Like everyone in our family, just had this sense of humor and storytelling. So like my brothers can tell stories and jokes. My sister, my mom tells stories. My dad's very uniquely funny.
I always tell people that the Arab culture is naturally storytellers, even if it's not comedic. Like, like I even talk about this on stage. Like a white guy who talks about walking down the street is like, I went down 3rd Avenue. Right. But like in Arab is like, what happened yesterday? Like, 3rd Avenue, the guy that sells the bread. Let me tell you what happened. And it's like this whole thing. And then you wait for like the climax of this story. And it's like, so I got on the bus, I went home. It's like, whoa, I thought it was a 45-minute story to go down 3rd Avenue. That's like in real time. How long it took you to.
I feel it's a natural. Yeah, but I understand sometimes it's not like you're not going to get the support in the culture as much.
Yeah.
Something like stand-up or acting, right? But I was very blessed that they did not give me any kind of like pushback at all. It was very beautiful. So
that's awesome. Alhamdulillah. I always advocate. I was on a podcast recently saying like, let your kids give this stuff a shot. Like we're always willing to like, I'm going to take you to Dave Merheje show, the Muammar show, the Ramy show. But it's like, all right, I'm going to sit with you while you build up to that level. No. Go back to school. No. But but we'll go buy tickets to their show because we'll rally behind them when they establish themselves. But like that process, I'm not sure. And so I was even going to ask you, like, how much do you feel that of Dave Merheje, was, I guess, exists because you grew up Arab? Like, how much of you as a comedian exists because you grew up Arab?
Like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, that's all. I mean, that's I grew up in a household, that was Lebanese, so like I think that all of it is ingrained and encompassed. And most of my relatives lived in where I grew up in Windsor, Ontario. There was a big Lebanese community there. There still is.
Yeah,
I was always around it. But you know what I mean? Like, I was always it was there.
Yeah. So do you feel like you were the guy though that like everybody in the family considered to be like the funniest guy, or or some cases you're in a family where like there's funnier people but just not like in my family they'll be like, your dad's funnier than you are, so he just didn't take it to the stage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're like saying that, but we all like celebrate everyone else being funny. Like we all think my dad is so funny, but not in like he's not doing stand up. He's just his being is funny. So we he's the guy that we're all like, man, he's you just can't teach that. It's just he's naturally the way he is. So my brother Joe as well is really good at storytelling and does like comedic jokes anyways, but he's not really like, he's doing the structure of it, but he doesn't really want to be a comic. He's just a guy, you know what I mean? And I don't think anyone people in the family and at this point, my cousins and relatives and all that, they know I do stand-up comedy. So that's like, they'll make reference to that, stuff like that. They're like, oh, that's a comedian. You know?
So do you find them in the audiences, like when you go do shows, like are they going to be front and center? Are they in the back? Are they like, we heard you had a show yesterday, how was it? Like what kind of support you get from the fam in that
And
aspect?
they've been since day one. They've been coming. They sit everywhere, bro. I don't. There's
Yeah.
not. Sometimes I have to. They get mad if I don't tell them about the show. This is like a different family. This is a family's like, from day one. They're like, when are we gonna go? They've pulled up multiple times. The festivals with me. Like it's like my dad has been with me to the Junos when I first got nominated and won. Like they come. They're very, very supportive in that way. It's not like they're like they want to be involved. It's like they'll roll like 10 to 12 deep, maybe 15.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you find yourself, or I guess let me take a step back and I want to ask you that thing that I mentioned where I said, just because you're the funniest person in your circle doesn't mean you can be a comedian. Do you agree with that? But then also to take it a step further, do you find that being a comedian help you be an actor?
I think it's. I mean, I don't want to tell you. I'm not going to tell you not to be a comedian or, you can't do it. I don't really know. It's not. It's not in my hands. It's in God's. It's in God's hands. It's in. If you think you're funny and you put in the work, that stuff will. It will work out. It's really the work. You know what I mean? It's not really fully about just being funny. It's like putting together a set. I feel there's a difference between being funny and being able to put a 40 to an hour set, which I had to learn, and it took like a long time. So there's like, it's not just about being funny. It's how can you control the crowd? Can you build the joke? Can you build the tension? Can you do the release? It's like the whole thing. Can you sit up there for an hour and carry the audience throughout the whole way? That to me is like where the work comes in. And for acting, I think they both help both sides. Like acting will help comedy, and comedy helps acting. With the timing, right? Because like stand up, the timing is so important. And
go ahead. Sorry.
It's just like, yeah, I think it lended itself. I think stand up, it's helped me. It gave me certain things that helped me in acting, but I still have to work on acting as well. And embrace that craft, and I still have a lot to learn as well.
Yeah, I mean, in all of your performances, do you feel that there's ever been a moment where like you weren't Arab enough for a particular room, or you were too Arab for a particular room? Have you ever had that?
Yeah, I think in life too, it's like where you don't think you're growing up, and you're like, I was born in Canada, so I wasn't born in Lebanon. My parents were. It's like you feel like when you're sometimes around people from Lebanon or people from the Middle East, you're like, oh man, my Arabic isn't that good. I can understand everything, so it just sounds. You just start to feel. Me personally, I start to feel insecure. I'm like, oh, do they think I'm not Arab enough? I guess I don't even know what that means. And then when you're around like people who aren't Arab and they find out you are, then it's just like, not that you feel you're too Arab, they're just kind of like, they lean on like you for everything in that world kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't, it's tricky for me, I guess. It's not tricky, it's just like, sometimes I feel like, you feel kind of like, not like an imposter, but there are insecurities there.
Did you ever find yourself though in a position where like somebody was trying to book you for something, and for either one of those two reasons, like you were like, man, Dave Merheje is probably not good for that scene, or they probably want me to be this thing, like they want me to come perform in Arabic. I'm not comfortable with that. Have you had those?
Oh yeah, I mean, like when I first started, it was around like when 9/11, they would like, I've been canceled off shows because, the comic was a friend of mine. He was like, dude, I don't know how you're gonna, the owner feels nervous. And the owner, I think, was Arab too. He was like, he doesn't know how it's gonna be in front of his white audience. So you get that, and then it would be like, I don't know how I got an audition for this Al Jazeera something. I think it was Al Jazeera, but then I think they thought I could speak Arabic fluently, and then I didn't know. So then when we did the phone interview, she was like, "Teche Arabe," and I was like, "Yeah, Nitfe," and then she was like, "That's like," she was like, "Oh, they needed somebody that could fully do it." So um, that, and then a lot of times too, it's like, like maybe some of the functions were like, "Oh, he might cuss or something like that. We're looking for something more cleaner." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I had to do something on the radio one time, and they told me the last second that it was all in Arabic, and it's like one of those radio things where everything is kind of recorded in like these 30-second clips, and I couldn't do it. I felt I needed 30 seconds of يعني
yeah.
and they were just like, come on, and they were waiting for that personality to come out, and I was just, because I'm the same way, like when I speak Arabic, sometimes people will be like, wow, he sounds fluent, he sounds like he's from here, and then other times they're like, he's not from here. That's pretty clear.
Yeah, I think I get he's not from here most of the time, but I do remember I've told this story before, but it was like, it makes me laugh because I was starting out in Toronto, and it was, bless this agent's heart, they called me and they're like, "Hey, you got to audition for this background. You're from it's no." She was like, "Hey, they don't want. They're gonna pass on you. They said, yeah, you're not Arab enough."
Wow.
But it was for background work. It wasn't even like I wasn't seeing anything.
So you're like Pizza Kid number 3.
But they just looked at me and they're like, "He's not Arab enough," which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Have you had much opportunity to like perform anywhere in the Arab world?
Yeah, I mean, I got to go, I got to go to Dubai. I actually went with Paul, Elia, Paul.
Yeah.
It was the low key show there at. It was pretty sick. It was pretty fun, And I think I'm trying to remember. And then we did Lebanon. We went to visit. I went to Lebanon my first time in 2022, and then Paul brought the show there. So we did it at what's the production? Why am I Awkward Comedy Club?
Okay.
We were able to do that.
Wow.
Which was like, it's beautiful. You're like, I can't believe it.
Did you ever psych yourself out on what you thought was going to work or not work, and just have that kind of snap back to reality?
Not psyched. I mean, me and Paul had to adjust. We did 2 shows in Lebanon, so Natalie Akar,
Yeah.
I want to say it properly. I think I'm saying it. It's a friend of ours. Listen, she's like, "You butchered my last name." Known her for a long time, but no, he was on the show and she helped us adjust in between shows. I think we were going super fast. There was certain things because she's from there and she's performed there a lot, and she knew. So we made those adjustments, and it made the second set for both of us better. Dubai was I think we just kind of were conscious about the material, but then when we got up there, it was super fun. It was the worry kind of went away up there. But I did feel I'm like, oh, can I say this? Can I say that? But when I was up there and I saw, me and Paul both saw the audience connect to all different kind of things, it kind of put us at ease.
Yeah, I actually, I don't curse in my set, not because I'm trying to be a saint or something, just because of the big part of my early performances were in conservative Muslim circles, right?
Yeah.
And so I felt like, hey man, if you're gonna get a start, doing something, don't start trying to push the envelope. And so it was a lot of clean stuff. But what I would find is, especially in the anywhere in the Arab world, there were times where I told myself, there were times where some comedians would tell me, look, man, so what? So what the producer told you to do? So what? We need to show that this can be funny. And so they would go out there with the attempt to kind of change the audience, like to try to teach, not teach them, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like they would be like, oh, they think I can't do this? Watch. And then others, like they would come off the stage sometimes and the producer would be like, I told you that was going to suck and it sucked. Why'd you do it? And then others were like, I don't care. I'm going to go and just be me and they'll like it. Were you either one of those?
No, I mean, I don't think either one, but I think you just kind of make, you learn. So sometimes you're just like, well, I'm going to stick to what I do. And then that's not the tone of the show or, so you learn. I think it's all learning process. I think at times, now, I don't know. I think you can still make those mistakes.
Yeah. What do you think is like the biggest misconception people have about performing over there?
I think they think it's like, it's so strict. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't, like, I don't know what type of like, and I think not just comedy, I think in general, they don't have a knowledge of like what's happening over there. So they have their own, like, their own like, I guess, narrative, right?
Yeah.
They're like, you guys you'll just hear wild questions. You're like, yo, you got that? And you're like, what?
Yeah. But I find it crazy though, the fact that like over there, like especially, whether it be Lebanon, UAE, Palestine, whatever, they're in touch with the pop culture here. Like they like you're not going to get up there and say like a joke about Kardashians or something who I don't watch Bravo. Like they'll be like, oh, they know more than you about what you're about to say. And I was blown away. That was the misconception I had, that I was going to have to like hold their hand through every punchline. And it wasn't the case. Did you find that to be the case?
Yeah, because you just kind of like, you're in North America, so you're listening to everything everyone says and you're building these things. You fall into the same trap. You're like, oh, do they got these channels there? And you're like, dude, it's 2026. They have everything. You know what I mean? So you start to buy into the North American, how they not judge, but like how they view all these places. Do you know what I mean? It's just like they don't even, there's like, where was I? I was somewhere in Canada. I mean, granted, it's a really small town, but they were like, they thought Muslim was an ethnicity.
Oh, wow.
So they just didn't you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think the knowledge, sometimes just the if they didn't even know that here,
you're
not going to know. Yeah, and I think you kind of fall for it when you're growing up here. You're like, oh, like, Lebanon was lit. They were like, yo, we're in. What are you saying? We're in, man.
Did you have an opportunity when you have gone to Lebanon, like for performances, whatever it may be, like, did you have kind of that moment where you get to go see like where your parents are from and go like hang out and kind of go walk those streets and kind of have, one of those kind of moments?
Yeah, I mean, the trip to Lebanon wasn't about performing. I never went there my whole life. I went there in my 40s, 45. So I went in 2022. So I was like 41 at the time. Yeah. Wait, 41? Yeah. Maybe my math is wrong. People listening, that's kind of good as math. The show Paul came with us and a couple other friends. Natalie was already out there. She had a wedding. So she took me to Zahle, where my dad's from. And I called him. And then I didn't go to where he grew up, but I went to a restaurant, like an area where he would go as a kid and as an adult. And his family would go there. So he was pretty geeked when I FaceTimed him. I was like, hey, Bob, I'm in Zahle. And he was tripped out. And then I wasn't going to go to where my mom was because we didn't have time. I think we were supposed to go to the beach. But Natalie was like, if you guys wake up early, I'll take you. And we went to Sidhe, where he's from. And randomly, they were talking to some people outside of a store. And I walked over and she was like, well, what's your mother's last name? Mine. I was like, Reshwan. And the guy that she was talking to was like, oh, Layla. My mom's name, Georgette Saidi. And I'm like, oh, it's my grandmother and my aunt. He was like, they're related to my family. And he took me he took us all to where my mom grew up, the house she grew up in. The people weren't there. I FaceTimed my mom, and she was like crying. She's like, "Put your hand on the house." She was like, "I was born in that house." Called my grandmother, so she got to see her house. My uncle was on the phone with her, so he got to see his house. And we went to the church that they would go to. So he had a key to the church, which I don't know how he got the key. We were like, "Can we get in?" He goes, "Yeah." And then it said on the thing, it said, what did it say on the wall? It said no pictures. And then we went to take a picture, and we looked at him, and he was like, yeah. Like he was just letting us do. And it was like, then I ran into a pretty crazy part. At the time I was dating a girl, and she loved to cook. So I got oil. Sorry, the
olive oil?
For cooking, yeah. It was
wow.
Bottle. And my relative that was with us that we met, he was like, "Oh, Hindi from Canada." And then the woman behind the counter was like, "Where?" I was like, "Oh, I grew up in Windsor." She goes, "Oh, my I think it was her sister." And then I was like, what's the last name? And she's like, Cecine. And I go, "Oh man, Sarkis, Nicole, these are my cousins." And then we took like a picture. And I think we sent it back to the family. It was so random. And then we left. It was pretty trippy. He took us actually back to his house, and we met like his wife, and he was DJing for us. I don't know. He showed us his DJ set. He turned the lights on, and then he was like really enamored with Rambo. He was like, "You ever Rambo?" Like he had the Rambo, like a DVD. He had like a Tim Hortons thing, which was like a pretty, that's Canadian. So it was pretty surreal and very like we all like were crying, bro. And my friend was touched by that moment that I'll never forget. I don't think they'll forget either. So that was the whole basis. That was. I'm so glad that was the purpose of the trip.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Stand up was like second. It wasn't like I was.
Yeah. See, those are the kind of stories you end up telling somebody, like when they say, "Tell me about your favorite comedy trip," and you talk about no comedy. Like it's like this is the favorite trip that was meant to be for some comedy, but like it wasn't. And
that's my life. That was one of my favorite life trips. Like we have it on all recorded, everything.
Wow.
Like footage. Yeah, he was just recording.
Wow. Yeah, I when people ask me about that stuff, I tell them, I'm like, yeah, this one time, I was in Palestine. They're like, performing? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, wow. And I was like, and I was there with Amir, Zahir, Mo Amir, Ramy, Yusuf, Ahmed. They're like, all of these guys? Like in Palestine? I was like, yeah. And we went and Mo had his mom and his brother with him. And I had my mom and my dad with me. And we went to pray in Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem. On a Friday morning. We had a late night Thursday night, and we went there Friday morning, and same thing, man. Like there's no comedy mentioned in this story. Like it was crazy intense because getting to hear Mo's mom tell her story, and that to me was like the greatest memory. Like him with his mom, me and my parents, Ramy, the whole crew, like we're all there praying and whatever, and it was intense. Everybody, there was not a dry eye like in the group. It was pretty crazy, and I'm the same way. Like I tell people that's the greatest story. Like they shut down the streets, bro, in Jerusalem. The government I won't name shut down the streets, so people couldn't get to the show at the famous Hakawati Theater in Jerusalem, which is still owned by Palestinians, and it's sold out, and people parked their cars blocks and blocks and blocks away and walked, and they wouldn't even allow the staff to get in. So the audience members helped run the show, like help, get everybody seated and pass out the tickets and tear tickets. And it was so incredible. And so people were like, "How was the show?" I was like, yeah, the show was good. I was like, but everything else was like, so intense. So do you find yourself like kind of wanting to make that a thing? I mean, I know everything given, your family being from Lebanon, my mom's family's from Gaza. The world is crazy right now, but do you find yourself kind of like having an itch, like wanting to go and like produce a big show there, or do something at some point when things calm down?
I don't know if it's necessarily produce a show. I just want to go back to to live and like just to go and have and be just to go. I don't know if I would be wanting to do stand up. It's more like I want to go back to Lebanon because I had such a fun time and a great time when I was there. We were only there for 4 to 6 days, I think. I want to go back for longer, maybe a month. So that's what
So then I need to test you then for a second here, since you've been in Lebanon and everything. I'm not going to test you geography or anything like that. Don't worry. But if you were at a dinner table, let's say you're in Lebanon right now, you're with all your best friends, y'all are sitting down and they're having dinner, and this is the official Dave Merheje sponsored meal in Lebanon. What's on the table? I need to know. This is for personal reasons.
I mean, I think everyone would say the same. No, I don't know, tabbouleh. But I mean, we had that stuff growing up. Not just fattoush, hummus.
Tabbouleh, fattoush, the stuff like on your way into the restaurant, you throw it in your mouth. But I'm talking about when you get to the table.
Oh, kibineh.
Okay. All right. Kibineh, for those that are unsure, kibineh is like raw,
it's the best
beef mixed with like all sorts of goodness, but it's good. Don't knock it till you try it. It's like the Arab
za'atar, of course. Za'atar there was like crazy. Za'atar in Canada, my mom would make it. My mom's just good, but like there in the morning, like jibneh as well. You're like, this is fire. Like I remember having it. We were like 11 a.m. I go, this is wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
That's the table for sure.
Yeah. No, for sure. In fact, that kind of gets us to this next part where I tell people, like, especially when I start talking about food and we've kind of gotten past some of those things, we get to the part of the show. Just before we get to the fun kind of rapid fire al-bab section, we'll get to the part of the show where ask some slightly different questions. So this is our tea moment here. Pouring our tea. We're chilling out. We're chilling out for a second, and I want to ask you, for you, whenever I kind of bring up your name and I talk to people about you, a lot of times they think of, your experience on the show Ramy. Did you guys have those moments where, like, I don't know, where people from the community just felt like they needed to like audit that show or audit your performance or audit the content and whether they found it funny or whether they found it pushing the envelope? Like, how was that? Like, did you avoid the community the first few months after just so you can like maintain your sanity? How was that being on the show and then, going in and out of the community? Like, what was their response?
I mean, there's like, it's both. It's like, there was a lot of love though. People like, were it's special because it's like, there wasn't something like that. It's like our representation wasn't always the best, right?
Yeah.
And in the entertainment world. So I think them seeing something like that and being able to connect with it and like seeing something they can like be like, oh man, my mom was like that, or my dad was like that, or my uncle, like, you know what I'm saying? I was like that. You just hear like, the people I would talk to would tell me their backstories a lot, and it was just very sweet. It was very like it was so cool to be a part of something that people held so dear to their hearts. It was very special. So, and then you're gonna get, just in anything when it comes to entertainment, I feel stand-up or TV, you're always gonna get critiqued by people. People just love saying, speaking their opinions, and it's just like I'm like, I've had it all. I've had the good, hey, why would you do this? Why would you play this? Or my boy can or my boy's an actor, he can play that role better than you, and it's just like, okay, man, that's fine. Like, there'll be moments where I think I got heated or angry, and then now I think it's like, as the more you grow and you learn and you just realize that comes with it, it doesn't really bother. It's just I won't let it get to me as much as I used to in the past, because you're just it's something. It's like anything, like art. You put it out there, and people are going to receive it how they received it, and they're going to have their opinions, and they're going to message you and be like, "Oh, why didn't you say this?" Or "This is not. You didn't do good, or you did great." So you got to take the good and the bad of it.
Yeah.
How you accept, or sorry, not accept, but that's how you're hearing the lovely stuff. There's going to be stuff that people will be like.
But with you specifically, sometimes I feel like you have like the Eminem mode and the Marshall Mathers mode, and like I feel like you have different sides to you, because while I can hear you tell me that and I believe everything you're saying and I'm bought into all of that, I also know that like you let the audience in on a different level. Like, even when I watched like the Wood special, which is an amazing special, by the way, like kudos to you. I don't know, I was getting like Fade to Black vibes when I first turned it on, like, kind of like that behind the scenes that leads up to the concert kind of thing. I know you get that reference. So, but I found that like you were almost like showing people like, I don't know, almost like an anxiety, like almost like I want to, like, this is how I wanted it to be. I don't want to ruin it for people because I want them to go watch it on YouTube. It's called Dawud, Dawud on YouTube. So everybody go watch it. But like, I guess my question is, what made you kind of like want people to like see that? Did you find that to be important, or did it just naturally happen? Because while you're mentioning to me that, hey, it's going to happen, people are going to say this, I felt like there was a lot of honest reflection that you show people. You talk about depression, you talk about like, I don't know, I was going to cancel it, and I was going to do this. So like, I'm curious what that thought process was. And I almost wanted to ask you straight up, like, what brings that? But like, are you a fan of you when it comes to your comedy specifically? I'm not trying to go super deep here. They're like, do you love yourself, Dave? But like, do you like your own comedy? Or
some days, sometimes yeah, and sometimes no. It goes back and forth a bit. For the most part, I try to like it more. But I think that came from like that day. I know I got there super early at the Con, is where we shot it in Toronto. It's a clothing store. And I think on the when I got up and on the I took the bus, I shot it in Toronto, so I took the Dufferin bus, Ossington. I took the subway and then the Ossington bus, and the whole time I was like, bro, I don't feel like doing this. What's happening? I haven't felt like that in a long time. And then I got there and I was moving through. They were setting up. We were doing all the B-roll, and I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to do this, but I couldn't tell anyone. I was like, man, this is crazy. There's like cameras, like, we hired all these people. They hired these people. Can't cancel. People are coming. There's 2 shows. But I didn't really want to. I was like, no, I'm not feeling this. And I think like as they got closer to the show and my friends came and people came, and then the first joke hit, and then it kind of changed. I was like, oh, okay, we built something here really dope. And then like when we were finished, maybe like a month or something, I don't know how long, the producer, Millen, and director, and Morgan, I was like, guys, I have this idea. What if I just kind of, and I told them how I was feeling that day. They're like, you were feeling like, I was like, yeah. What if we interviewed me talking about it? And then, Millen was like, yeah, let's try it. And, the worst case, if it doesn't work, we'll just take it out. So it wasn't a thing I had planned. I was just going to put out stand-up, just as special as it is. And then we kind of interspliced. So we shot 2 half-hour interviews over time. And then we used, I think we used one of them. And then we kind of spliced it in. And that's where that came from. And, I showed, it's risky because like I remember showing a buddy who's a comic. He's like, I don't know, man. You're kind of like starting off with low self-esteem. I'm like, and it kind of like messed with me a bit when he said that, because I texted the Millen, the producer. I was like, oh, I don't know, is this a good idea? And I started to get in my head about like how stand up today is, you know, getting people's attention and like, you know, like getting views on YouTube and strategies to do that. And I started to go, oh man, it's just gonna not help that. And then I think I just kind of, the next day I was like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna put this out. This is something I developed. I feel really happy about. I was trying to do something different from the last one. If nobody watches it, then I'm not changing this for like algorithm or whatever, or like statistic, try to get like number. I was just like, I'm just gonna put it out how it is. And if people are like sad or they feel like this is too depressing, then they feel it's too depressing. So I kind of just let it go that way. And I was just proud of it. And we were all proud of it, whoever was involved in making it.
Yeah. So did you feel like, you know, like, rather than kind of just ask it directly, like I'll kind of give you a sense of where the question's coming from. Like, sometimes you have people like, you know, those people who cook food who will be like, hey, listen, I'm just letting you know it's not the butter that I wanted. And also, this is not my kitchen. I don't live here. So when you taste it, just know, like, they're hedging a little bit. Like they want to make it so that like people don't hit them with, you know, the big review, you know, of the food. Like they're almost trying to build it up, and you taste it, you're like, it's amazing. What are you talking about? And they're like, oh, of course it is, you know, but like they almost were trying to kind of keep you from hitting them with that very honest review, and they're giving you all the reasons and all that. So do you feel like when you come out and you do that at the start of a special, is it more or less like, I'm just letting you know what's going through my head? Or do you feel like it might be like a little bit of a defense mechanism to be like, I'm just letting you know, like, so you're not like, don't beat me up. It was a hard day. I had a lot going on. Like,
I think it was more of like, how I was feeling that day. Because I feel like people like I wasn't trying to make it perfect.
Sure.
I wasn't trying to be like, and that's not a knock to anybody or anything. I was like, specials a lot of times they're just like a sketch. You know, I was just trying to show you. I was like, I wasn't feeling that good. That's the more like truest way I can show you. I wasn't feeling that good. I didn't want to do a sketch, or I didn't want to have like cool like music and then boom, we're gonna go into it. It was like, man, I was feeling like shit, feeling like I didn't want to be there. I wasn't feeling dope, so why not? And then however you want to take it, you take it. If it's like you think this is corny or it's too depressing, then turn it. You don't gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like when I've produced things in the past, like I always feel like I have to tell a story, and I always want people to kind of know what's in my head. And I've had the same people, kind of like what you mentioned, like give me advice that's like, it doesn't matter, you know, what you're thinking, what you're this, what you're that. This is what's gonna work best when we chop it up, and this is what's gonna do best. And I don't know, like maybe the one thing people give me a lot of crap about is I don't put out any jokes anymore. Like I haven't uploaded a single performance in over 10 years. And when people are like, you realize you will never grow your brand. And I was like, yeah, but I never want people to tell me how much they don't like something that I love. Like, I don't want to have to go through that. So I'll just like it, love the performance, finish the performance, and leave the comedy club or whatever. And nobody can change how I think, because that's just...
this is what you're doing. You know, a lot of it is you're doing it for your enjoyment too, and you can't let people dictate how you move fully. I think you lose yourself.
Yeah, for sure. How was it doing acting on shows like Ramy with like people you're already good friends with? Did you find that it was like this super cool hangout session that just lasted a while, or was it, awkward because it's still work? Like, what was that experience like?
Well, I mean, I knew Ramy the most, So that was like super super fun because it's like your homie. And then Mo I knew, but I think we got close. We got closer during the filming because we were hanging out all the time. It was really fun. You get to rehearse with your boys. And then Steve Way, I met like we took an acting class together. We were in an acting class together before we started shooting season 1, and then we became closer. And then I met the rest of the cast basically from filming. Like I hadn't, it just became like such a super. I feel like it became like a family. You know, you'd be pumped when you were coming back, right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna see everybody, and it was just like that's what it is. It's like you're like, I can't. I'm shooting with my friends. There's nothing else. The energy on set is great. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I felt lucky because you're not always. I don't think you're always gonna get that.
Yeah.
Right. So felt blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me if I'm reading too deep into this. Just call me out on this. I know that in the last few years you reverted to Islam. You know, alhamdulillah, congratulations on that. And at times I felt like the more I was kind of looking into your story and the more like just following you and following you know, clips and stuff on YouTube that you put out or interviews you would do, part of me sometimes felt like not everything that the character goes through per se, but I almost felt like Ramy's character and Ramy had a lot of similarities to like your path in real life. Like I felt like there was this discovery and trying to like figure things out and like, where am I at with this? And that feels good. I'm gonna go do that. And then like kind of, you know, he was almost like starting to embrace more of Islam. Obviously you kind of reverted to Islam and things like that. Am I thinking way too deep? Like Saeed, it's too late in the night here. I don't know what you're talking about, or is there any connection?
I remember when we were shooting, I would be like Ramy's character. I'm like, oh yeah, I act like that in real, like not the religion part at the time, but I was like, I'm like that. And then I felt like I was playing this devout, you know, Muslim, and I was like, oh man, this guy's got the structure and of a life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even know if I could ever get to that kind of point. So I would always like not laugh. I would just be like, "Oh man, I could relate to Ramy's character."
Yeah.
Thing, and then I reverted to Islam after we finished filming, so in 2022.
Yeah, yeah.
So and now it all makes like I'm like, oh, sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's why the character did that. So now I think, but yeah, I mean, for me, I felt it. I don't know if it's like I'm not. For me, I would see some of the similarities from the character.
Yeah, my dad always used to get mad when I would show him episodes of Ramy because he felt that I should have been in the show somehow, and so he would point to the background, like if there was a guy like walking across the street, he'd be like, "Inta, you couldn't be that guy." Yeah, Ramy, he could have called you and told you be that. You couldn't walk. You couldn't walk, wala? You couldn't walk across the street. And I was like, yeah, I didn't audition for the guy who walks across the street. Like, there's kind of a process for it. He's like, I don't know, Saeed. You call them your friends. I don't know. It's like, can you watch the episode? It's like, I don't know. And this guy, he's performing at just recently when I told him about Mo at Radio City, I was like, oh, Mo's doing Radio City. He's like, and he can't put you next to him in the video. Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with the guy? And I was like, Habibi, like,
it's like you kind of, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I learned like certain things about Islam through that.
Yeah.
That character.
Yeah.
I learned how to pray, right? So I was like, I grew up with Muslims all over, like in my hometown. I just wasn't paying attention.
So like, we had Ramy do the Ramy show. We had Mo do his show. When's the yalla. When's the Dawood Netflix 12 episode? What's going on? Anything in the works?
I mean, we're developing. In Canada, so inshallah. But
Sure.
it's we you never know. But like we're working towards something.
Awesome.
Just put in the work, and then if it happens, it happens.
Awesome.
We are putting in the work. We have something that we've been developing, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, we won't count the eggs before they hatch. But inshallah, much success, because I love the Dawood special. Like I watched like just about everything, and I went back and watched a couple, and my wife would be like, "What are you laughing at?" And I was just like, I was like, I love this part, or I love this part, like just to show you how deep. When you even mentioned it was Tim Hortons, like I remember the joke where he's like, "How do you get rid of a Tim Hortons? You know how bad?" Like I don't know if that was like 10 years ago or something. I don't know when that was from, but like watching that and things. So I've always been a big fan of all of your stuff. So I really want to make sure everybody knows. I believe to follow you, so I don't forget. It's literally at Dave Merheje on Instagram and social media, right?
Is that Dave Merheje? So it's Instagram. It's all on. So that's the social media handle.
Yeah, we'll put it up on the screen for everybody so you can make sure they get it. It's also DaveMerheje.com. Yeah. Make sure you go to YouTube to watch Dawood, Dawud. Just literally type in Dave Merheje Dawood. It'll come up. Watch that on YouTube. Then send it in your WhatsApp group with your 1,200 family members. Make sure they all just click on it a couple times at the very minimum. Get those likes and subscribes and all that good stuff. So before we wrap up, I want to get to the part that I call Al-Bab. And I call it Al-Bab because Arab don't let people leave. They start up new conversations and they're usually very rapid fire at the end. I describe that to everybody. Usually you're like, okay, yalla, I'm leaving. Okay, yalla. By the way, and what happened with the doctor's visit? It's like, yeah, I'm in the driveway. So like, can I go, oh, also, is your sister, is she getting married? So I want to do some rapid fire. And so it's going to be very quick, but what we do is sometimes the questions can be a little bit tougher. Sometimes people will be like, oh man, I don't want to answer that. You put me in a tough spot on that. So what we do is we match up this Al-Bab portion with an organization. And Dave mentioned that Lebanon, Palestine, very near and dear to his heart. So what that means is if there's ever a point where, Dave, you don't want to answer a question, you're like, man, nah. Not because it's a bad question, like just, play along. But like if it's just, I don't want to pick between one or the other, you can definitely do so. But how this works is if you have to do that, kind of like the drinking game without the drinking, right? If you have to do that, then you can skip a question, but you got to make a donation to this organization. I don't care if it's $1 or $1 million. I'm not asking for receipts. We're not going to call you out on social media. You're not going to get canceled on our system. Now, if you get through all of them, which I'm sure you will, I'll make a donation to this organization. And today's organization that we picked is ANERA. So you can always check them out at anera.org, ANERA, helping out Palestine, Lebanon, and beyond. So I know that was near and dear to you, Dave. Yeah. So that's the organization. So are you ready for this rapid fire? Yeah. All right. Go. So here we go. So a lot of these are just going to be pick this or the other or true or false or whatever it may be. So right off the bat, you got to pick one to keep and one to eliminate from history. Kulthum or Fairuz?
I mean, I'm gonna get in trouble. I don't know the first.
It's okay, you can get in trouble. It's okay. Are you making a donation on question one?
No, I'm saying Fairuz. I'll take the second one. I don't know the first one, so I don't know if it's fair.
You don't know Kulthum?
No, that's why I feel embarrassed.
No problem. Kulthum, old school. She's like what some people consider to be like the greatest, Arab singer of all time. But she's old school. Like all of her tracks were like 45 minutes long. I feel like she had a band play for 20 minutes before she came out. She was like ultimate diva. But amazing. So we'll stick with Fairuz. I'm sorry, Kulthum fans.
Sorry.
You can always write in the comments if you hate us both for that part. All right. So if you travel for an Arab wedding, does it change your gift amount? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yeah. Come on.
All right. Yes. All right. So you have a friend who is now on their third marriage. You still giving them a wedding gift?
Yeah. I mean, you can't be out here going like you're not giving.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. They're gonna be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So unlimited. So if they're on 4, 5, 6, yeah, I mean same thing coming. Okay. All right. So like it's like the new 401k. Okay. All right. Next. When you go to a wedding, are you dancing at a wedding no matter what, or are you just watching from a distance? What's Dave Merheje doing?
Oh, I'll dance. Yeah, I've danced that way. Yeah. Yeah, right, I'll get up there.
All right. First, to preface this next question, do you have like a family WhatsApp or group chat or something that you have for your whole family?
Yeah.
All right. So who in that group is most likely to make it awkward?
I don't know what do you mean awkward? Like
who's the one that always just says the wrong thing over text or just misspells everything and has everybody wondering what they're saying?
I mean, that's me in general as a texter. I not just in the group chat with my family. I'm just in general. But I mean, my family, it kind of rotates. Somebody, it's not like an awkward. Somebody might pop off. Like an argument will ensue. That can rotate from family member to family member. It's not awkward. Right. It's like someone's popping off.
All right. True or false? Marriage is about marrying the person you love, even if your parents don't like them.
Is that?
That's true or false?
I mean, yeah. If
your parents can't stand that person, I still love them. Like that's still my person. That's who I pick.
That's for you or me? You're saying
for you.
I think at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, I would try not to put myself in that. I think you got to just, if you love, I mean, if you love this here, it's not even if you love the person.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I don't think my parent, I don't know, I've never come across where they've actually hated the person.
Yeah, that's good. It's you know it's still kind of an Arab thing though, because like for a lot of cultures, they're like, no, I mean, I love her. They're just gonna have to get used to it. But like, I feel like in our culture, it's a little bit more complicated.
Well, it's more complicated, but I feel people have still stayed with the partner, even if the parents haven't.
Yeah. For sure. All right. So next question, real quick. Is hummus a meal, dip, or side?
Is it what?
I know your friend. Is hummus a meal? Like I sit down, that's my whole meal. Is it a dip? I dip carrots and stuff in it. Or is it just a side that's next to whatever I'm eating?
No, bro. I mean, dude, first of all, you gotta dip it with, it's just pita bread. What are we dipping? I've dipped it with something else, but I still feel that feels weird, bro. When you dip it with carrots, it feels odd, like you're cheating or something like that. I don't, and I think no, you eat it. It's the whole thing, tabbouleh, and then you get the meat. Yeah. Come on, man. I'm just not gonna eat hummus. What are we doing over here?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. People watch the people in the comments on that one. They'll be like,
"A whole meal, bro."
All right. You've been to places in the Arab world. What is your favorite dialect to hear in the Arab world? Walking through the streets, I just love hearing these people talk.
Oh,
Lebanese people, Syrian people, Lebanese?
Yeah, when I went to Lebanon, because they spoke like English, French, and then Arabic. They intertwined all of it together. It was wild.
All right. So next quick question, what is your favorite hot drink in the Arab world?
My favorite hot drink?
Yeah, tea, coffee, sahlab.
No, I mean, I love coffee across the board. I'm more of a coffee person than a tea person.
All right. So if you were somewhere in the Arab world having your favorite cup of coffee and you could be having that moment, drinking that cup of coffee with any Arab, alive or past, who's that person?
Oh, it would probably. It has to be one person.
You just have you just get a couple hours of that one person, have a real cool conversation and a cup of coffee.
Like it has to be in where? Like in they have to be living
Wherever
there?
you wherever you are,
They
whether
have to
they're alive, not alive, you can bring them literally magic trick. You can bring them right in front of you, and you don't have to say any religious entities and prophets and all that because that's too easy. So we'll put those to the side. We're just talking about somebody. Who's that person?
Oh, I think for me it would be my brother, sister, my mom, and my dad. I've put them all
All right, cool.
because we've never been to the Middle East together.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So if you're, this is like another one of those super Arab questions. If your tire goes flat minutes after you showed your friend your brand new car, and the tire goes flat, is that coincidence or is that hasad or the evil eye?
Probably the evil eye, right?
It's gotta be.
Hey, you showing off, but I mean, I don't know if I would go. Yeah, I would show off if I got a brand new car. Yeah, you probably that is probably the evil eye. It's like, hey, what are you doing out here, bro?
All right. Do you feel that there's any Arab food that's overrated?
No.
Everything's just legit.
It is, but I still rock with Bezello Ritz, bro.
So I know you mentioned kibbani and stuff earlier. Would you consider that to be underrated? What's the most underrated?
Kibbani, bro.
Kibbani? Okay.
That has to be the forefront.
All right. Who in your family is the hardest to please?
I guess he's not hard to please, but my dad is like kind of like, you're like, yo, I got you this gift. He goes, thank you, man. We know he's happy, but it's very like, oh, thanks. You're like gassed, and then he's like, thanks, man. And you're like, oh, he's just.
I remember that from like one of your performances, where your pops is just like, hey, I love you. Okay, so
yeah,
right along.
Obviously Father's Day, we just gave him a gift, and I was texting my family. I was texting my brother, and I'm like, what did he say? He goes, oh, he liked it.
Yeah. So I think you're currently living in Los Angeles, right? But your parents are still in Canada?
Yeah, my parents, most of my family lives in Windsor, Canada.
All right. So another good Arab question real quick, as part of this rapid fire. If you could get paid to go back and live with your family or live where you are for free.
Wait, live where I'm at for free?
Yeah, if you could live where you're at for rent free, you don't have to pay a dime, or get paid to move back home.
Would they pay me to live back home?
Yeah, like if somebody was just paying you, said, "Hey,
yeah,
I'd
go see my family." Yeah, and then I would just fly to work, right? If they're paying me,
if they're, you'd be surprised. I've had some people are like, "You can't pay me enough." Other people are like, "You don't have to pay me. If I could go back, like,
if I can be closer to my family and still do what I do, yeah, 100%. I don't need to get paid for that.
All right. So my last little scenario here for you before we wrap up, because we want to get in the mind of Dave Merheje. If you are running an hour late, you pull up your GPS, you see that you're running an hour late, and your friend says, "Dave, how far are you?" What's your response?
It really goes back and forth. I might be like 40 minutes. On the time, I might just be like, I'll be there. Or I might be like, hey, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be a little bit late. It really depends on the mood sometimes, but I try most of the time to be as honest as I can. It really depends on the situation.
But if it's an hour, you're still going to say about like 40, 45.
50 is fine, I feel. 50 is fine. 55. You don't have to go.
You don't have to bring in the hour. Hour sounds like too much.
Yeah, hour is just like crazy. Hour feels like you're not coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, it has been a pleasure having you, Dave, and having this conversation. Hopefully, it was it was fun for you, and we really appreciate having you. And again, I want to remind everybody, all you got to do to find Dave is find him at Dave Merheje, DaveMerheje on Instagram, social media, and also his website, DaveMerheje.com. You need to go check out Dawood. And he's putting together a lot of other projects, so stay tuned to his social media to hear about those. And then the last thing that I'll ask you, Dave, is, you know, Arab is Me. That's where I got the title for this show. So the last thing I want to hear is, for you, what's Arab? What's Arab about you? What does that make you think of?
Like when someone says, "What's Arab about me?"
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't want to say the hand movements. I mean, I guess it would be the pash, like, you know what I mean? The rantiness, pash. I don't know if that's Arab, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know, earlier when I was joking, saying that like sometimes as Arabs we tell a story and we just pop in a bunch of details, maybe then aren't necessarily
connected. Sorry.
Like you just did that a little bit ago. You were like, I was headed to my special and I got on the bus. What bus? Where was I? What bus was it? And then I got on the
and sorry. Like, yeah, you're right. Because I do that. Actually, my friend who's Egyptian is always like, you always add things into the story that have nothing to do with what's happening. Like, you don't need to tell me you went to the store. And I'm like, oh yeah, I do that a lot. So yeah, that's the Arab me.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate your time and thanks for being on. And again, everybody, you're tuned in to Arab is Me podcast. We were here with Dave Merheje. We appreciate you, Dave, and thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you, man.
Absolutely. Yalla, selamat, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.